Stress-Free Cooking is brought to you by... From the sunny Mediterranean comes one of the world's finest olive oils for all your cooking needs. Pompeian extra virgin olive oil, classic Mediterranean, and extra light tasting. Pompeian makes everything better. From our table to yours, O-Pee-Chee Wines, fine wines and spirits from around the world since 1913. Cutco, the world's finest cutlery. Melissa's, the freshest ideas in produce. And Sub-Zero Wolf Appliances.
Hi, I'm Barbara Seelig-Brown. Welcome to Stress-Free Cooking. On today's show, we'll be having a little dinner party. And our dinner party menu will consist of a brisket cooked in red wine. We're going to make some roasted baby vegetables. So, I've selected a wine to go with the menu, and I have a Valpolicella, and it's really a rich, wonderful, velvety wine, a good, hearty red wine. It'll go great with our brisket and red wine sauce. So put on your bunny slippers, pour a glass of wine, and cook a great meal with me. The first thing we're going to do is start with our roasted baby vegetables. So I have some really pretty baby vegetables. We have baby zucchini, baby patty pan squash in yellow, and there's also some baby patty pan squash in green. And what you do is just rinse these vegetables off. Make sure they're nice and clean, no dirt's clinging to them. I like to leave the stems on because it looks really nice when you put them on the plate that way. We want some whole cloves of garlic just peeled. So let's take some fresh garlic. I actually grew this garlic in my garden. Garlic's really easy to grow. You put a clove of garlic in the ground in the fall, mulch it really well, fertilize it, and next June or July, you'll have beautiful garlic. It grows really easily. And the garlic scapes are the tops of the garlic that come around May or June. You cut those off and you use them like a garlicky green bean. Really delicious. So I'm just crushing this garlic just slightly so that I can peel the skin off. And sometimes it's a little sticky and it doesn't come off as easily as we'd like. And some freshly ground pepper. And some fine sea salt, okay, a couple pinches. And I'm going to add a little extra virgin olive oil to these. I like to toss these vegetables in a bowl as opposed to on the baking sheet. All right, so once you have those tossed, you put them on a parchment-lined baking sheet. Parchment is your best friend. It keeps things nice and clean. It keeps things from sticking to the pan. It allows you to use less fat. So, onto the parchment-lined baking sheet, and what you want to do is make sure that you have your vegetables in a single layer. If you stacked these vegetables up, if you stacked these vegetables up, they would steam, they wouldn't roast. We're going to put these into a hot oven, about 400 degrees. Baby vegetables take about 20-25 minutes to cook. And that's all there is to it. They can also be made ahead. They're great if you make them a day ahead of your party or your holiday. I make them for Thanksgiving all the time. I make them on Wednesday, and on Thanksgiving Day, I just take them out of the refrigerator, let them come to room temperature, and they take no time at all to heat up. So let's pop these in the oven. We're going to come back, and we're going to work on a beautiful brisket. What I love to make for dinner parties is something that's braised, and there are lots of great braised dishes. I love to make ossobuco, which is veal shank. I love to do a braised pork with white beans. But today what we're going to do is a brisket, and we're going to have a nice red wine sauce and some baby potatoes with it. So the first thing I want to do is season it. And I have a mixture here that I made of salt, pepper, dried herbs, basil, and oregano, and also some onion powder. So we'll just rub the brisket with this little mixture. And it's nice to mix it all up ahead and have it all ready so that you don't have to worry about evenly coating the meat by using everything separately. Okay, so we'll just put this on one side to start. Okay, and then we're going to flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. In the meantime, we're going to put a little extra virgin olive oil in this pan, enough to cover the bottom. And then we're going to put this brisket in presentation side down first, which is the more attractive side. And now I can season the other side of this while it's in the pan. So we're going to let this brown on one side, and then we'll turn it over. Once we turn it over, we add red wine and stock to the pan to deglaze. Put it in the oven. It takes about 2.5 to 3 hours to become really tender and flavorful. So while we're sauteing the first side of the brisket, what we want to do is get our other ingredients ready. And what I have here are some baby leeks. They're going to give us a wonderful flavor in our sauce. Now, if you don't have baby leeks, you can use regular leeks. What I like about the baby leeks is they're not quite as sandy as the regular leeks. If you do get the large size leeks, what you do is slice them first, put them in a colander, and then rinse them off. So grab a chef's knife and just cut these into 1/2 to 1 inch slices. And these will go in the pan when we turn the meat. And you want to use most of that leek. Okay. We're going to use some baby potatoes. I like these little creamers. I have red and white. They were at the farmer's market. They're nice and fresh. All right, we've given our meat about 3 to 4 minutes. Let's take a peek. We want it nicely browned on the bottom. And this is about 4 pounds, so it's a little heavy. Turn it over. And then we're going to cook it on the other side. While that other side is cooking, we can add the potatoes. We can add the leeks. And if you don't have leeks and you're making this on a day when you don't want to make another trip to the store, just cut up an onion in big chunks. You could also put carrots in here, but since we're trying to make this special for a dinner party, we're going to leave out the carrots and serve another vegetable on the side. So let's give it 2 or 3 minutes. Looking good. Now, if you want the alcohol to cook out of the wine, out of the dish, add the alcohol first, and then add the stock. The hotter it is when you add the wine, the more the alcohol will cook out of the dish. Okay. Put the lid on it. Pop it in an oven. We're going to put this in a 275-degree oven for anywhere from 2.5 to 3 hours. Let's make a great salad to go with our wonderful dinner. The first thing we're going to do is toast some pinoli nuts. So I have some pinoli nuts that I just bought, and I'm going to put them into a dry skillet. And all we need to do is keep our eye on them until they start to turn brown and remove them from the pan. Once they start to turn brown, you want to take them out of the pan. Otherwise, they'll get too cooked or even burnt. So just toss them around a little bit. The pan needs to get hot first. So let's keep our eye on those. But in the meantime, let's talk about the salad ingredients. I have some figs. I have a Belgian endive. And I have some radicchio. And the radicchio and the Belgian endive are both what we call bitter greens. So we're going to sweeten that up with the figs. Figs are very sweet. Unfortunately, they're seasonal, so if you can't find figs, don't worry about it. You could put dried fruit in your salad. That will add a nice amount of sweetness. And I'm going to toss this all with some baby greens, some mesclun or any kind of baby greens. Baby romaine would work well. Any baby spring mix works really nicely. So Radicchio is from the Veneto area in Italy, and it comes in several different varieties, but the most common one that we see is this round head of Radicchio. So I'm going to cut it in half, and I'm just going to try and cut it into nice thin little julienne strips, keeping my eye on my nuts as well. Okay? So when you cut it into strips, you'll end up with a little bit of a core. You just remove that. Okay? So nuts haven't started to brown yet, so I think we're okay. What we're going to do is separate all of these pieces of Radicchio. And I've been soaking this Radicchio in nice cold water to keep it nice and crisp. Sometimes when you're in the grocery store, when you go to check out, the cashier won't know what it is, and they'll mistake it for red cabbage, but it's really not cabbage at all. It's just considered a bitter green. Let's work on our endive also. So I like to keep the integrity of the endive, which is that nice long, thin, narrow shape. So we'll cut the core off and cut this into thin strips. Pop that into our salad bowl. This is also what is commonly referred to as a tre colori salad. However, I'm going to add the figs and the pinoli nuts. So we're going to change it a little bit. It'll be a nice complement to the rest of our meal. And there's always the controversy about whether you want your salad before or after the meal. And in Italy and France, and most of the European countries, they prefer to serve the salad afterwards to cleanse your palate before dessert. I like my salad before because I like it as a lighter first course so that I can save on calories but still have a first course. Now I'm smelling my nuts, which means that it's time to take a peek. And they are done. I'm going to remove the pan from the heat, and we're going to put them back into the little bowl that they came out of, so that they don't continue to cook. Okay. Now we'll let these cool off a little bit, and you can see they're nice and golden brown. We don't really want them in there too long. We have a little bit more endive. So let's talk about figs. Figs should be very soft when you buy them. In fact, when you feel them, they really do want to feel like they're almost too ripe. So we're going to cut the stem off the figs, and I'm just going to cut them in half. This one was so ripe that it actually split before I got it home from the store, but since I'm going to cut them in half or even quarters, it's not a problem. Alrighty, so put those figs in there. Something else that I like to do with figs is to cut them in half, put a little piece of Parmigiano Reggiano on top and a little piece of prosciutto, and it makes a great bite-sized appetizer. Now that we have all of the ingredients in our salad bowl, almost all of the ingredients, what I'm going to do is make a vinaigrette. So I have a bowl handy. I have some white wine vinegar, because I thought the white wine vinegar being a little bit less acidic tasting would be a nice complement to the salad, especially since we're using our bitter greens. So some white wine vinegar goes into the bowl. A couple of pinches of salt. A pinch of salt is less than 1/8 of a teaspoon, so you don't have to worry about using too much salt. It's also a great way to measure your salt without getting out a measuring spoon. A few grinds of fresh pepper, and grab a whisk. When you whisk your salad dressing together, it stays together longer than if you shake it because it breaks the oil down into smaller particles. Add your extra virgin olive oil, about 2 portions of extra virgin olive oil to 1 portion of vinegar, or even 3 extra virgin olive oil to 1 portion of vinegar. But when I'm trying to cut down a little bit on calories, what I like to do is use a sweeter vinegar so I can use a little less oil. Once this is ready, it will be ready to go right on the salad, but we don't want to dress the salad until it's time to serve it because it will wilt the baby greens. Let's check the pinoli nuts. They're still a little warm, so give them another minute or two. Just wait a few minutes for those pinoli nuts to cool off. Wait for it to be time to serve the rest of the meal, and we can put our whole salad together. So in the meantime, let me go check on my brisket and let me go check on my vegetables. We can make a really quick hors d'oeuvre while everything else is in the oven cooking. And for that, all we need is some grated cheese. A hard cheese like Asiago, Grana Padano, Parmigiano Reggiano. Grate it, and then you're going to take little mounds of cheese